Alright, so I'm going to be doing an analysis on my own golf swing here. There are a few very minuscule details that to most would seem as normal, but me being a golf coach, I can analyze this and see that there are a few issues with my swing, as there would be with pretty much anybody's, even professional golfers. There are always minuscule issues. So right off the bat, there are not many issues here, but there is one sort of issue with my hand. In regards to my hand is a little over the top of the club, so you can see my thumb is kind of wrapped around the club head, or not the club head, the grip, and you can see the separation between my thumb and my index finger. Realistically, that hand should be a little more open, and what I mean by that is the thumb should be almost pointed directly down the club as opposed to over the grip, and you wouldn't be able to see that separation as much as you could there. The next thing is here. You can kind of see it over here. Is my left knee is a little further back than my right knee, and in this instance, as you can see, my feet are pretty well lined up. That just means that because of the obvious shoulder rotation you can see on the right image here, which is normal for a swing, that I'm not compensating enough with that knee and bending. Therefore, I'm not going to have proper balance right off the bat with my swing. I should be bending that knee to the equal amount that I am the right, even though my shoulders are slightly rotated. When it comes to the final thing, this is very, very, very minuscule, and honestly, I probably won't change it personally because it doesn't affect me too much, but it is a little bit of an error. In regards to the golf swing, your club should be equal, or pretty equal, to that left arm. As you can see here, my club is pushed forward about 2 inches, maybe an inch, forward from where it should be. This is nowhere near a big deal. It's just a very, very minor one that could be changed just to make your posture a little better. So that is the few issues with my setup. There isn't really anything else. Maybe there could be a little fix here with the ball being a little more towards the forward end of the club head as opposed to the middle or the heel. But for me, the way my swing is, it works the way it is, so I haven't changed it. So now we're going to go through the takeaway. So I am going to just draw a line here. That is the plane that my club begins on. So as we go through here, you can see right there, it's kind of a weird angle, but the plane itself is nearly identical, which is exactly how it should be. So that is a very big issue with a lot of people's golf swings, is that their takeaway is not parallel to their starting position or their follow-through. I'll go through my follow-through again later, but it is pretty much on the same plane. It's just split between those two, which it should be. The biggest issue here with my swing is, you'll notice as we go through a little bit here, you'll notice here, I'll just draw a line, you'll notice that my hips are still very well pointed towards the golf ball. In regards to a golf swing, you don't want that. You want to be using your hips to rotate. So realistically, on this left image here, my hips should kind of be like that. Obviously not to that extent because you're not rotating 90 degrees, but they should be facing a lot more towards this camera. So that is a big deal, and you'll notice that on my follow-through as well when I get there, is that is probably one of the biggest issues with my swing. It doesn't affect contact, nor does it affect consistency if I'm continuing this swing, but it does affect power. When I've purposely done the hip rotation to get the hips to follow through and the hips to rotate on takeaway, I've noticed about a 15 to 20 yard increase in my swing and my distance, but it is a big change because obviously you're not used to that rotation. So it's just drills that have to be worked on. There's things such as you can lay a club against your hips with no swing and just practice the rotation. You can do closed, like, feet together swing that forces you to rotate. Things like that. Pretty minuscule drills, but it takes a lot of time. It's almost back to the basics. The next thing that you will notice here, as I get to the finish right before I'm about to drop, the golf club is not parallel. So in a swing, the club should not pass this line. In regards to my swing, the way it is, it's not terrible because it's not extremely past parallel, as you'll see here. It's about like that. I'll just read it's just like it's a little past. So that could be something to be fixed. That is more of a consistency thing. If I stop doing that, if I let it up more parallel, it's a big consistency thing. But you'll see when I make contact with the ball here shortly, I'm still hitting it with the center of my club face, so it's not a huge deal. The reason for this is that the over rotation causes you to not properly hit the ball in the center of the club face, so that can be fixed pretty simply. You just got to shorten your swing, but it's not a huge problem. The next thing you'll notice, again, my hips, I'm not going to draw lines here because I showed that before, my hips are still pretty much facing forward, and because of that, I have all of my weight on this back foot. It should be about 70-30, but it's all there because I'm shifting my weight to swing as opposed to rotating, and that is the big deal. And this, as you can see, my hips are kind of sticking out here, but it kind of creates this what's called a reverse C effect. So your body is almost in the shape of a C, bent towards where you're hitting the ball. And that is a big issue, and you need to be staying more upright. Ideally, my center of my body should still be right about there, with my hips still right about there on rotation. And instead, the center of my body is now here, with my hips here. So it's a big shift. It's causing me to have to shift my weight a lot more than I should, and it's a big fix. It's a big swing fix to make. Not entirely necessary because it's for power, but if I want my swing looking good, then I need to do that. Feet are good, knees are good, aside from the fact that I'm shifted over. You'll see here I've kind of got my back foot lifted up, which isn't a huge deal. It should ideally not be like that, but it's not a huge deal. Some golfers, professional golfers, do that too. Again, with a golf swing, there is no norm. It's just whatever works. You see some golfers like Jim Furyk with their weird club twirls and things like that. But based on the most popular golf swing, that should be down. So now we'll go down to my follow through. You'll notice here that I've now taken away that reverse C because I'm shifting all of my weight. So I now have everything centered again with the weight shifted. Ideally, I should have been there the whole time. Other than that, it's all good at this point. As we come through to contact, that parallel line that I showed you originally is still there compared to my takeaway. It's a little more upright because I'm kind of pushing myself up, so it'll be a little different, but that's the normal case. Foot, big thing here, you'll now see that my reverse C has now switched to this side, and that's because of that weight shift. If I was using my hip rotation, I'd still be fairly upright and not doing that. I would still be in this position with my head right about here as opposed to there, and my hips should still be here. So that's probably the biggest issue with my swing, and that is the one thing that I really need to work on. In terms of ball contact, again, as I said, you'll see my foot lifting up here. You'll see it lifting up. Contact is perfect. I'm forcing the club into the ball. This foot lift here, you'll notice, as I was mentioning before, that again is because of the way I swing. If I was to rotate, I'd be twisting off that foot. You'll notice here, I'll skip forward a little bit. You'll notice here that I lift up, right? Keep going. I lift up and turn onto the foot once I'm on the top of it. A good weight shift and a good rotation would cause me to twist off that foot as opposed to jumping up, turning, and almost landing on the toe, which is what's happening here. I should be twisting off the bottom as in a sort of squish the spider motion and forcing my body to turn. So that is a key indicator that my weight is being shifted as opposed to rotating. So obviously there is a weight shift required, but that just means that I'm shifting too much weight and I'm lunging all of my weight into the ball, which isn't necessarily a bad thing again, but that hip rotation will add even more power. And we'll go to the end of the swing here. So final stages of this swing looks pretty good. You can see that now all my weight has shifted forward as it should. Final stance in golf really doesn't matter too much. One thing is this club here, instead of there, should be a little more like this, which just has to do with my takeaway and the way I follow through. I'm kind of coming around my body as opposed to pushing out, and that can cause the ball to draw a little bit. In this particular swing, the ball went dead straight. But if I was to focus more on wrapping the club, instead of wrapping the club around my body, pushing the club out and bringing it around my head, I should end there. If I had a iron swing here, you'd notice that my club is a little more like this this line that's parallel up here, because I do that with my irons. When I'm using my driver or my woods, I tend to come around my body a little too much. So overall, in terms of a swing, if I was coaching this swing, if I was helping somebody out, this would be a pretty good swing. I'd give it probably a 8 out of 10. Obviously, I'm ranking myself here, but it's kind of what I do. So, and kind of what I'm trying to do as a career. So, basically, the only real issue in terms of this swing is that hip rotation. The ball being too far forward, my hand curved over, my knees, they're okay. The hand curving over might cause me to draw the ball a little bit and contact be a little weird, but as you can see in this, my contact was fine. Therefore, it's not really messing my swing up. Backswing, takeaway, all good, other than that reverse C in the hips. The parallel at the top isn't a huge deal because I'm not aggressively going past it. It's more so I'm stopping my hands and the momentum is pushing the club down. So it's not a huge deal. Coming through to contact again, same thing, hips. I'm not releasing my hips through. I'm more so pushing them through. And that reverse C again, switching to the other side. And lastly, here at the end, there isn't really any issues other than the club isn't parallel, and that's just caused by the way I wrap the club around my body as opposed to going up. Again, not a huge deal. It's more of a consistency thing and to help prevent any issues that may arise in a swing. So if I was to follow all those things that I said, my swing would be really consistent and I'd be hitting the ball 275 yards every time. Obviously in golf that's really hard to do and it's really hard to get there, but these are things that I need to work on to get to that position and to get consistent, which is probably my biggest issue. So yeah, that has been my swing analysis, and I hope you enjoyed.